So we're going to make Staffordshire oatcakes, which is a really easy recipe to make. You only need a frying pan, you don't need any fancy loaf tins or proving baskets, and they're not like Scottish oatcakes, they're like a large crepe or flat pancake, and you'll need wholemeal bread flour. I'm using Mungo's Wells bread flour. You need some oatmeal. This is quite a coarse oatmeal, but ideally some fine oatmeal is better. You need some starter. This is a wheat starter. It's really nice and active and bubbly. You'll need some salt and you'll need some milk. I'm using Mossgiel milk. And it takes about 12 hours from start to finish to make the Staffordshire oatcakes. And what you need to do is get started the night before. It's very simple, but you make up your leaven the night before, and that is, I put the recipe down below, that's 250 grams of warm water, 25 grams of your starter, 125 grams of wholemeal flour, and 125 grams of oatmeal. And you mix all of that up in a bowl, cover it in a plastic bag and leave it overnight just to start bubbling away. That only takes a couple of minutes to mix that up. And then the next morning, you need to heat up some milk. And that's what we're adding to this. It's quite a thick, porridgey consistency just now. We need to thin it out. So I just weigh my milk rather than measure it in a jug. So I zero my scales, and then I'm going to do 250 grams of milk, which is a little bit more than that. So I'll get some more. This will have the cream on the top, which is very nice. So that's 250. And then I'm going to warm that up on the stove just till it's kind of hand warm, not boiling. And what I do find is that with certain flour, it soaks up more of the liquid than other flour, so you might need to adjust the quantity of liquid. So with the Mungo's Wells flour, there's quite a bit of nice bran in that, and I would say that this amount of liquid is perfect for that. But if you've got a finer flour or using white flour, you might need to reduce the liquid a little bit or it'll be too runny. So the milk's warmed up now, and I'm going to pour it into the bowl with the leaven. And give that a little mix up. And the only other thing to add now is 5 grams of salt. And that's pretty much a teaspoon. You don't necessarily have to weigh it. I found that a teaspoon is the perfect amount. So, a teaspoon of salt. And that's us finished now. We need to leave it to get a bit more bubbly for about an hour. And so I'll cover it in a plastic bag. And the next stage will be cooking them. You can cover it in a tea towel as well, but I find a plastic bag keeps the warmth in a bit better. Okay, so that's the batter been sat for about an hour, and it's quite bubbly. And I've heated up a frying pan, so I'm going to add a tiny bit of sunflower oil. And just make sure that the pan is well greased so it doesn't stick. And then I use a soup ladle to take a spoonful of the batter out. It's quite runny. And then spread it around a little bit. And it takes maybe a minute and a half or so on each side. And you're waiting for all the bubbles to appear and for it to look slightly cooked before you flip it. So you can see bubbles starting to form, and once it's just a little bit more cooked, we'll flip it. So you can check it before you flip it, just see if it's starting to go brown and crispy. It means it's ready to turn. And give it about another minute or two on this side. Okay, that's it ready. So we've got a nice selection of oatcakes, and we're going to fry some eggs to have with them. So this recipe makes about 8 oatcakes, and they keep really well if you don't eat them all in one go. And to this I'm going to add some sauerkraut, which is my favourite way to have them. A bit of sauerkraut. And that's the savoury one done. Eat it like that, and it's delicious. If you'd rather go for something sweeter, you could have some caramelised apple. This has got cooked in some butter and maple syrup and cinnamon. Or you could have stewed rhubarb or just jam, honey, anything like that. And I really like it with some yogurt as well. So that's us finished our Staffordshire oatcakes. There's about 8 here, and they're amazing for breakfast or lunch, or for a packed lunch. And we're gonna have our breakfast now. So let me know how you get on.